Um, and you should see me at the bottom of your screen there. You should have received an email. This is just a pre-survey to let us know what you're looking for in this presentation. And if any of you who are joining in don't know about me or what I do, you can scan that QR code or visit my website. It tells you a lot about what I do, but just to summarize, I do a lot of children's ministry work in the South England Conference. I'm a distributor for VBS Group, VBS. I'm a teacher by profession, and we do radio programs on Adventist Radio London and Life Radio UK with children. I do a lot of children's program across the conference, training for Sabbath School, Children's Sabbath School, VBS, and I do training on use of AI in education, in ministry, in schools, and personal use. So just a bit of what I do. Yesterday I was at the BUC event for educators and teachers, doing a presentation on AI for education. Had a great day with Dr. Jeffrey Brown and the BUC Education Director, and it was a good day. But today we are focusing on children. So my details are there. If you need any information, do get in touch. Just an overview of what the day would be like. We will start off with a bit of introduction, which I'm doing now. Then we look at vision casting and the inspiration that we need to make sure that as we go into children's ministry next year, we will have the best year in children's ministry. If you're new to it, you know how you start and make the best. If you have been doing it for a while, how you can improve. Looking forward to hearing some of your ideas and for you to share. Feel free to interrupt me at any time, ask question, put your hand up, and I'll take those. But I also will have a feature where you can write your questions as I go along. So you can ask questions. We look at strategic planning to make sure you plan for everything VBS, I mean children and VBS. We'll take a comfort break for about 10 minutes. Then we look at the curriculum, the new curriculum that is out and how we can apply that. And then we should have another comfort break for another 10 minutes. And then we close with VBS, looking at the new materials for this year and how we can improve on that. So that's the outline for the day. Um, so this is where we're going to be interactive. So if you have a device, you can scan that QR code or you can go onto slido.com and put in that number. And then you'll be able to ask your questions while I continue, or you can type them in the chat, whichever one you feel you prefer. But the Slido, you will need it for some interactivity. Um, or if you want to open your mic and talk or shout, that's fine. But it's just a way of using this, and this is something you can use. It's an app. I was presenting with this yesterday at Newbolt, and showing how we can use this when we are doing any presentation and to get instant feedback. So it will be in this side of the presentation once we ask a question. If you sign in, for example, what is your favorite childhood memory from, it says Sunday school, here should be Sabbath school, or similar programs. So what is your favorite memory from Sabbath school or any similar program, whether you grew up as in Sunday church or Sunday school? Do type it in or you can shout it out. Doing activities and singing songs. Yep, you can see we get instant feedback here instead of me having to go into the chat. Songs are always interesting. always something crafts. I remember my first VBS. I was the only VBS I can remember drawing a picture on a glass. It was a white background with a red hibiscus flowers. That's the only thing I can remember about VBS. Stick labels, Bible pictures for our audience. Yep. And if you think back to what Sabbath school have been like for you as a child, or if went to Sunday school for you as a child, what that was like, and imagine what other children are having, and are you doing Sabbath school, children ministry based on your experience, or are you doing it based on, you know, the children you have, your own children, or are you doing it to improve? Because a lot of us will do things based on how we were brought up. So attendance, Sundays, pictures, doing activities, singing songs, all of those things. So yeah, we think back to what Sabbath school was like for us as children, or and we are we doing the same thing now? Are we trying to use the technology, use up-to-date systems that will help children as we go along? So, so this is where we're just going to have a quick interactive quiz. Kemi has joined, so in the chat, while Kemi is there, you put your name in, that's fine. So a quick quiz is, what is the primary goal of children's ministry? Is it A, to provide child care, B, entertainment, to teach Bible principles, or to organize events? What is your primary goal for children's ministry? That's a quiz. You have 4 people on. So 100% of you say to teach Bible principles, and you're correct. So you're correct. Teaching Bible principles, but how do we do that? So let's focus in on the vision of children ministry. And I'm just going to give you a quick background of children ministry. When it started in 1852, James White published the first 4 lessons for youth Sabbath school. And the purpose for Bible study, that was the aim. And then you carried on to the second purpose in 1885, which was to world mission, focus on mission. And then in 1944, there was a third mission, which was soul winning. And 1978, it was for fellowship. So you can see how we then have those 4 focuses on Sabbath school, Bible study, world mission, soul winning, and fellowship. And then in 2006, this was abandoned by the Sabbath school department, and leaders create their own Sabbath school with fellowship, outreach, Bible study, and mission. So those are the 4 things. Coming down to 2025, where we have a new curriculum, and we'll look at that. But key thing here, in 1889, Ellen White wrote, "The Sabbath school, when rightly managed, possesses marvelous power and is adapted to doing a great work, but it is not what it may and should be. The influence growing out of Sabbath school work should improve and enlarge the church." That was from Testimonies on Sabbath School Work, page 29. So the 3 main resources that we need for Sabbath school is God, the material, and the people. With those 3 elements in place, we will and we should have a successful Sabbath school. God first, and then the materials and the people, then we should then have the children in the middle, and all of what we do from God, from the materials and the people we do, will all focus on the children that we have. And um, when we think of those people, we're thinking about the professionals or the volunteers or the children. And the non-negotiables are that, all of these must be connected to God and have a relationship. And where leaders begin to listen and hear the culture of young people, and you go to the young people rather than expecting them to come to you. That's the key thing as leaders. We need to make sure we're going to the young people, the children. Don't expect them to come to you. And you need to discover their interests and share your heart with them. So you need to build a relationship with these children. So in the Sabbath school, when we have our Sabbath school, the core values we need to make sure we're having is that there's joy. When children come to Sabbath school, I've done Sabbath school for over 10 years, and it was when my daughter was born, and it was the joy I needed for her. I want to make sure that, she wouldn't leave church saying church was boring. So if you think of all the children in your care, are they leaving church saying church was boring or Sabbath school was boring, or do you want them to go, man, I want to go, but I can't wait for next week. Just go, and I can't, and they tell their friends about it, and they invite their friends and their family. They're telling their parents, Mom, Dad, I need to be early. I need to go to church early. We're having this, we're having that, and they're excited to come. And there's a joy there. They must be safe. The environment should be safe. We keep them safe, and the churches are doing a great job on keeping our church family safe. And they should be emotionally safe because we don't know what some children are going through. So we need to make sure there's safety there. We need to make sure that the family unit is there. Empower the children's family. So it's the greatest asset you have are the parents, are the family, because what you're trying to do is empower them to lead their children. So they are the great children ministry leaders because they have their children for most of the time. You only see them once a week or so. Equipment, we need to share and equip children to share God's grace. So once you're giving that, they should be going out and talking about the great things that they are happening in their community. Um, Application plan for change of life. So you're helping them to apply what they learn so they can use it in their daily work around whatever they do. When they go to school, when they're with their friends, they can apply it whatever, whenever. Engagement, encouraging active learning. So, we talk about that at the beginning, where we having the crafts and the singing and all those things. It must be engaging, must be fun, it must be alive for the children. And key thing is building relationship with children, not just when you see them in Sabbath school, you're building relationship, but all throughout the day, you're building relationship with them. So the lessons that we do should be appealing. So children should want to come because the stories they can understand, the activities are fun, it's appealing to them. You need to build on the personal love for Jesus and his truth. It should be thoughtful, higher order discussion, get the children to really think, not to telling them everything or just reading from the quarterly, but let them having great discussions, and they can apply to their personal life and share how the lessons that they learn, how they did apply it. Think about the diverse needs of the children and how different children learn differently. And so we can't just be doing one form of activity, just be diverse. Some children love to sing, some children love to draw, some love to act, some love to just sit and listen, but you have to make sure you have the lessons that is diverse and age appropriate. Use the language, use the resources that are age appropriate, that appeals to them and challenge them. We need to make sure it's encouraging spiritual message for busy parents and teachers. We need to encourage not just the children, but for the volunteers that we have. And I'll look later on about how we make sure we keep our volunteers. We need to make sure that we encourage each other. Sometimes we'll make mistakes, sometimes it will be hard, but we encourage each other. And then make it memorable. We talk about sensitivity. Um, think about special needs children. Children with a lot of times we don't think about special needs children. And if you don't have experience with working with special needs children, it's hard to see that. But we need to think about special needs children. How do we deal with children who have different needs? And I always say we all have different needs. We're all on the spectrum. But some are obvious, some are not obvious, some are, things we can see, but some it might be mental, it might be internal, emotional. How do we deal with those children? And as I started by asking the memorable things that you remember from your days as a child, you want to make sure we have the same happening here. So these are the things the lessons should offer. And therefore, your Sabbath school should be a place of belonging. God wants to reach their little minds and hearts, and He's called you to help this work. So you need to be enthusiastic to serve and keep the passion towards Him boiling hot. So calling to create a place where every child feels truly belong. And prepare your lessons. It's just more than a lesson. You're preparing their heart, you're preparing a space for them to connect, no matter what their background, their needs, where they're coming from, who they are. They have been prepared. And you need to let children see the value for God, value for, God calling them. And you need to turn your classroom into a sanctuary for these children. So a place of belonging that they will come and feel, not that they're not the special one. Every child should be feeling special. Not that, because I can't sing like Mary or I can't play the musical instrument, I'm going to be left behind. Some Sabbath school you go and only special children will be leading out in doing things because you don't give the others an opportunity. So those children don't feel that they belong. So you give them an opportunity that everybody can come and join and sing along. Everybody can be a part of this. So no matter what, make them have a place where they feel that they belong. God has chosen you to play an important role in reaching His precious children. So you need to make sure you have thoughtful lessons planned and all the props and resources in place. Don't want to wait until the children come, you're preparing for lessons. You think about it weeks in advance. You plan weeks in advance what you're going to do. You should be a month ahead of what is happening so everything is rolling. So as a leader, you already plan and have everything in advance so people can support you. Um, and people will appreciate that you know what you want from them. As the same for the children, they want to know that you are prepared and you have planned for them. Seeing these children as precious in God's eye, you need to make sure that whatever you do, you're really, really putting effort into it. They will grow in faith and trust and say yes to God's call. And we know why, this is about teaching Bible principles and you want them to have that love for Jesus. And together, children and parents and you will have a great time. Do you know what your job description is as a Sabbath school leader? Now, this is taken directly from the manual. As a Sabbath school children ministry coordinator. You are to chair committee meetings with your team, provide training, which you're doing, plan and implement a yearly calendar, and develop a budget. Those are key things that you need to do. So you meet with your team, you provide training for your team, you plan for a year, not for a month, for the week, but for the entire year. When we look at planning in a while, and we'll develop a budget because you need to, everything you do needs money. But you have to have a great plan and think about ways. Churches are broke. You know, church will say they don't have any money, but there are ways and means to get the church to make sure they fund your children's ministries department. In fact, I always argue if every church will do focus on children's ministry, then every other department will flourish because parents can't, children can't come to church without their parents. And once parents know that you're taking care of their children, they will support anything that you do and they'll pay for anything to make sure that the children get the best. So if you focus on children's ministry, then you will be, it's a winner. Some other things from the manual. You advocate for the interest of the child's needs. So you as a leader, as a Sabbath school teacher, you are always making sure that the children come first. In your meetings with the elders, with the pastors, with the departments, always advocate for children. Everything that is happening, ask, what about the children? Any program is planned, what about the children? How can we get the children involved? What do you want the children to do? You have to maintain high moral and ethical qualities. Children, you can't be teaching children to do one thing and then they see you outside of Sabbath school and they hear your conversation and it's different from what you're saying. You need to build on that. You need to maintain communication with parents. You don't want to have being a leader that the parents can't communicate with and not hearing from. And it's not when you have a problem with a child, you speak to the parents, you speak to parents about everything, about what the children are happening. Because, in fact, I would say parents are one of the greatest assets you will have as a children ministry leader because they will fight for you, they will support you as long as you make yourself um, available to them and have those conversations and appreciate them and resource them to help. So when you think of the child's Sabbath school, you're thinking of preparing for children, but also preparing for adults. And spend time with children, you know, have those not just in Sabbath school. When children come into the church, even if you don't know, they spend time talking to children, make sure children are looked after. I've been to churches where when once you go with a child, you get a pack. And there's a pack given to the each child with crayons and pencils and papers for them to do activities. So, you know, as a parent, you go and you think, wow, they're preparing for my child. You know, it's as if when you go to McDonald's or any of those fast food shop and you go with children and they get so you have children, they have a kids meal with some toys and you have some crayons and some activity to do while parents eat. The same thing you need to have. And work with your pastor in events involving um, children, whether it is baby dedication, you know, there should be no baby dedication that is happening that, you know, you're not the one presenting a certificate and, you know, encouraging the parents, giving them a gift. Whether it's baptism of children, you know, one of the things I see happening, you have children being baptized and there is um, no involvement of the children ministry. Or in fact, the pastors are using the main fundamental questions where they go through all 13. And I'm like, these are young children. You should be, there's actually a children's ministry a version to be used. And I've seen churches that they're baptizing only children and they're using the adult version of the vows. No, you need to have those say, making sure that stories are part of every Sabbath. It doesn't matter what program are happening in the church. You make sure that you say, what about the children's story? You should be leading on that, and you should get the best children's story. You should make sure people are not going up and just reading and telling stories that children are not interested and children are bored. You should be scouting and saying to people what you want from their children's story. Should be linked to the sermon. So anybody who is coming to preach to your church, I'll always get the information. What is the sermon about? And then you tell a story that will link to that, so that it's all one. It shouldn't be a story that the children have a story and then preacher preach something and it's different. It should continue. Working with the deacon department. How do you support young deacons and mentoring children to be the next leader in our church? And here, then again, this is all from the manual. Just looking, and if you have never read the Children's Ministries manual, do get your hand on a copy. I think I have a copy I will email to you. Um, but do read the Children's Ministries manual. You can find them online, find it on the General Conference website. Get acquainted with parents who have children in the Sabbath school. Know them, talk to them about the children, spend time talking to them, learn, and even invite them. One of the ways to build volunteers is to have the parents in supporting. Parents are one of the best volunteers you could have in your Sabbath school. Um, Talk about responsibility of the committee or the department. So having a mission statement, doing the overall plan, the planning, coordinating, budgeting, all of those things. We talked about that already. Um, Promoting your programs. You need to talk about what you're doing and make sure it's exciting. So don't never go promoting what you're doing without having that excitement about it. If you just go and talk, people are not they're going to be turned off. You have to have some excitement. Think, just think of the church when you go in front of the church. Just see all children. There's some big, there's some small. That's different. Because we are all just big children. So you need to make it as fun and engaging and exciting when you go. Put your message in everywhere in the newsletter, in the announcement, on posters. Get children to be upfront advertising anything, print flyers, making your program accessible using social media to inform parents about what is happening. Not the children, but parents about what is happening. The manual talks about how you publicize your work. Much of what we do in children's ministry goes unnoticed by the average member in the church. Because if you think about it, you go every Sabbath and you are away from the parents and they never see what is happening. You need to bring that to life. Take pictures as much as possible, showing this off. Be visible. Let the world know what you and your staff are doing and show how you care about the children. So every 13th Sabbath, there should be some pictures and resources being shown all around of what is happening. Um, Show off your children in various ways on choirs, doing drama activities, in adult worships, seasonal performances. Show off the children. Every opportunity you have, you show off the children. You know, Make sure, you get the sermons, the preacher, whoever is preaching, have them talk about the importance of children's ministry of children in our church. And you can even spend some time with children. I usually, when I was doing children ministry, get the children to do a daily devotional. Just, you can write it for them and they present it. But people will always watch and listen to children. So you can present some little clips of children. Make sure every mobile device have good quality cameras. Make sure it's quiet and you can hear the children and practice them before you record them and show that, update them. And you can print materials about your Sabbath school so you can share what you do. Every baby dedication, you can give it to parents, and so they have a leaflet of what is happening in your Sabbath school, what opportunities the children will have, whether it's choir, playing musical instrument, VBS, whatever. You put that out because you would have planned for the year, so you have a flyer that tells you all that is going to happen for the year, all the things that you do, and you present that as a flyer. It's in the church. Whenever parents come, they can get that, so people know what is happening. You're advertising, you're branding your Sabbath school, really showing what you do. Even if you have a special logo or your children ministry logo. So when I started Sabbath school, I think it was 2010 or 2011, I just gave it a name. My church is Brixton. I call it Bricks Kids. And I labeled it, and I have my own logo and a special page on the website, and everything was branded as that. So people, it's the same Sabbath school, the same resources I've used, but all I did was rebrand the Sabbath school, give it a special name, just like how if you have Pathfinders, you give your Pathfinder a special name. You just give it a special name, and you are okay with that rebranding. So I always say, if you think of your Sabbath school as a creche, where if you're having a creche or a daycare center or whatever for children, how would you brand that? It's the same thing you're doing for Sabbath school. You brand that so that you are making sure you're getting customers, you're getting the children in, and parents will see that and tell others about it, and they'll tell others, and you before long you won't have space for children. And I remember that happening. Parents usually take their children to my Sabbath school and then leave and go to their church. Because that's how it is. You rebrand. Children will be waking up their parents and say, we need to get to church early. And the parents will be like, what are you doing? These children are rushing to come to Sabbath school by rebranding. And you could just use a simple, you can have the children design the logo, get them involved in everything, because these children nowadays are great at doing these things. And it will cost lots of money, but how do you do that? Is you think of fundraising. Fundraising is a key thing you can do. Um, Talk about the provisions through each fundraising. Focus on God, on that. Underline how this money is going to be used for making sure the children have fun. I always say this to children ministry leader. When I started, the budget for children's ministry was £500, but yet the church for the year had a budget for flowers, floral decoration of the church for 2,500. And I'm thinking, why? Why is it that we're happy to spend 2,500 on flowers that, put in the weather and dye a change every week, but our children, you can only spend 500. So I got that change. And before long, I went to the church and, showed them what we're doing, and we promoted it, and all of this was happening. And I say to the members, what I want you to do is put aside money, and on your title envelope, just write children's ministry, so we know that it is going directly to us. And the children also created some flyers, some envelopes, where I had a competition for them to create their own tied envelope, and we had a couple of winners, and we produced these envelopes. So the children will take these home and get funds and take it in. Parents will have money in those envelopes, and so we know it's going directly to children ministry. And when I left, we had over 30,000 in reserve for children's ministry, just by, and we were now getting like £1,000 per month, at least donated for children. We have special program or arrange those things, and you won't go far. You won't be needing funds, but fundraising is a great way to do, and there are many ways we can do that. So that was just a quick stop into this. We went through very quickly. You have a question here. If you haven't done any of the signing to Slido, you can think about just to rank these. The main reason why you think young people attend Sabbath school. Um, which one you think is the most important? And if you have any questions in the meantime, do put it in the chat or you can just ask here. Anybody want to ask a question? So you have friends and fun. Yep. Friends and fun, we have that there. Yeah. A lot of that's one of the key things. Friendship is the key thing that we have. People will come. The main reason here is friends. The main reason is friends. So if you have fun, you want your friends to be there and they want to have fun because if it's not fun, no one is going to come. They won't want their friends to come because they know if their friend come, they're not going to have fun. So why would I invite my friend? And of course, food. We know that food as adults, wherever food is, we want to be there. And there's always hungry. So one of the things you as a Sabbath school leader, do you make sure that there is snacks fruits and something provided for children after Sabbath school. I usually make sure that when Sabbath school is finished, all the children will have a snack or have some fruits or something to eat before they go to their parents. Because some children will bring their snacks, but not all children. As I said earlier, and we think about where children are coming from. You don't know where they're coming from, what is happening at home. Some children might not have food. So do you provide that food for them when they come or at the end of Sabbath school? And of course, we need to make sure there's something about God in the church. We're at church, isn't it? So we need to make sure that there's the faith aspect of that. So these are the four F's that we need to focus on when in our Sabbath school. How do we make sure that these are the things that are happening in our Sabbath school? Just want to acknowledge Kemi, who is coming in from Jamaica. Thank you, and it must be very early there for you to wake up and join us, but thank you, Kemi. So another question. What is a common activity in children's ministry to help kids memorize Bible verse? What is one way we can help children to memorize Bible verse? The most common one used. Again, type it in the chat or you can answer the question. Most common, sing songs, of course. I am I am not a singer. I never could. But you know what? I was sharing this yesterday at the presentation I was doing with the teachers. There are so many versions of AI that can make me sing now. So I put my picture in and it makes my picture sing, and I'm thinking, oh wow, I'm gonna have a great song. But also, there are so many resources out there that will help to share Bible songs, and they actually had some great. And there's some and a Grace Link or the old curriculum would have had songs for every, especially the younger ones, for every Bible verse. And the new curriculum also have a lot of songs and links to that as well. So do explore those. Okay. Um, we are almost coming to a break, and we're going to look at how we build our children's ministry. You're looking at all the things that you need to have. Remember, if you are taking this in, I will share your with all the resources with you. I'll share the presentation with you, and anything that I mention in here, then I'll email it on to you as well. So, how to build a children's ministry, how to build it now. These are the key things going to look at. We're going to pray. With prayer is always important. Looking at the philosophy and the goals that you want. Looking at the objectives that we need to have for our children ministry. Planning. Make sure we count the cost as Luke 14 28 says, and we need to dream big. A lot of us, when we think of our Sabbath school, because we don't have the money and we're thinking where we're going to get the money from, we don't dream as big as we can. Think, when you think of children ministry, I always say, think of it as you creating a business. You're starting a nursery or creche or where you're going to advertise and get children in, and you're going to provide the best. And if you have 100 of you around, are you going to make sure yours is the one that everybody wants to attend? And because if you don't get people coming, then you can't have a business. You're going to run bankrupt. So unless you think of it as that way, then you're going to not thinking big enough. Plan your programs. Yeah. Plan not just for this month or now this week, plan for the year. And I'll show you a yearly plan that we would look at. Choose your curriculum. We know the curriculum is set for you, but the curriculum is a study guide for the children. The curriculum is not the children's ministry curriculum that you have. You're thinking about the curriculum in terms of what is happening for children, not on the Sabbath, but in the week, on the holidays, in the school holidays, special celebration, whether Easter or Christmas or some or whatever holiday you have. How do you plan the curriculum around that? Set up your schedule of what is happening. Know when the holidays are. Know when the school holidays are. Know when the ministry events are. Pathfinders event. Government events, whatever, and you link everything to that. Recruit staff. How are you going to make sure you get the best staff that will understand your vision and support the mission and get the best out of the children? And when you recruit staff, think of you recruiting somebody who will take over from you, somebody who will do better than you, because you're not getting paid to do this. But if you can get all the people that you have volunteering to be leaders and see themselves as they're the leaders too, not just you, you will have a great team. How do you make sure you prepare the facilities that you have? Not just you know, a room, even if it's a small room, but how do you make sure that small room is the best? And how do you do the decorations and make sure that the space, children go wow when they come in on a Sabbath morning and they see it and they're excited to be there? How do you make sure you publicize your event, um, and the budgeting? And how do you, I think one of the key things that people tend not to do as children ministry leader is evaluate. Look back, check what you have done, see if you have met your goals and objectives, and why not? What are the struggles? How can we do better? What can we take from last year and improve for this year? All of those things need to be done. So when you develop your philosophy or your goals, we need to address the needs of children. So whatever you're planning needs to address the needs of children. What are the needs of the children in your congregation, in your community, in your local area? As you develop your philosophy, consider these four things. The basic needs that children need: love, acceptance, security, the varied and meaningful activities with choices. So, which one of these are you going to focus on, and how are you going to make sure that your objective hit all of these? And it needs to be realistic, consistent behavior expectation, and this discipline. So, thinking about what you are going to do for next year, what are those needs that you have in your local community, in your church, and how are you going to plan for these? And you will then set your objectives and goals. So you brainstorm with your team, think about the needs and how you're going to fulfill these needs, and then you plan objectives that are going to be fit for your church. And these objectives should be reachable, measurable, understandable, specific, and realistic. So think about, don't, even though you're dreaming big, but it makes no sense to put things that you know is not going to be achievable in the year. And if it's just one thing you need to improve or work on for the year, focus everything around that and then build on that to do that. And as how do we do this? We need to have a plan. And this is how you would, the key aspect, I break this down into four aspects. So you have an action plan as to the children's class. This is what happens on Sabbath, each day, each week when you have the children. So you have beginners, kindergarten, primary, beginners, I'm sure that doesn't spell it right. But children's classes, what are the outcomes? What do you want from those classes every week? Children to be engaging, fun, so forth. And I'll look at an example of what I've done before. You want to think of nurturing. How do you nurture the children through Children's Day, Children's Church, retreat, festivals, choirs, even the teachers, how you train them, the children's story that you do, how do you make sure that you have connection with the parents and the adults and the children, the birthday of the children, how do you make sure children who are going to present at any of the children's day or any time in church, they are prepared and, I have this as a preachers club. I did something called Picture Preachers or video series. These are just some ideas of what else. So this is not on a Sabbath now, but you're preparing for the year and the school holiday and when children are home. How do you nurture the children to be great leaders, to become successful, to stand in front of the congregation, present as, proudly, and you could leave saying, wow, I'm so proud of you. How do they sing with, how do you know which children are playing the instrument if you don't have that relationship with them, or in a band can sing, can play musical instrument? And you showcase these children and you get them into the church band, you get them into the church choir, you get them to lead on the tech side, you get them to do some animations, you get them to do something and it's presented in church. So this is nurturing all the skills and what the children can do, and you present this in your action plan and what are the outcomes you want to see from all of this. And then you think of outreach. This is where VBS comes in. It's an outreach. VBS is not for just church children. It's for the community. It's for their friends, and it's a fun thing. How do you think of craft weekends, especially in a holiday? When they get a holiday, are you providing activities for them? Are you providing music workshop for them? Are you doing summer Bible club or something? What outreach program can you do? Do they go to the children's home and present? Do they go to the hospital and sing? how do you get the children to do outreach? What are the plans you have? And these are just some ideas there. And then there's other activities, how do you welcome babies in? How do you welcome to provide for parents resources? So do you have a newsletter that goes out every week or every month? Just basic information. It doesn't have to be a big newsletter, but some information goes out to parents. How do you provide that? And I'll show you an example of one that I've done here. These are just this was done like about 10, 15 years ago. Can't remember now. Yeah. But you see my objectives are there and what I want this link to be. And I've complete this and I make sure that all my leaders would have had this as their guide. So they know everybody is aware of what we're doing, what the plan is for the year, and we even the parents will have this. So the parents will know what we're doing. The parents will have the objective. The church will have it. Every department leaders will have it. So they know what your plan is. So they can see how our plan as children ministry department fits in and how they can link. So the music department, how can they link with the providing workshops, the Young Preachers Club, how can we have the elders working with the children and building relationship? How can we have the senior citizens working and mentoring and being spiritual guardian? How do we make sure that the stories link? How do we have training for not just the Sabbath school teachers in big church, but in a little church too? How do we have the choir director working with us as a children's choir? How do we provide a festival, showing off the talents of all the musicians and all the singers and so forth? We have Easter programs. How do we make sure that we have a combined Easter program with children and parents and adults leading? How do we link to the Pathfinder Club? Because after all, the Pathfinder Club is the same children in Pathfinder you're having in children ministry. So how do we make sure that if they're doing a camp, that's part of the retreat? Because no sense you doing a retreat and you're not having Pathfinders or Pathfinder having a camp and you link that so that's together. And then you have here outreach, picture preachers outreach video series where you can weekly send get children to do a series of short videos that will inspire and can share um, craft weekends, get children to come in and do some craft and even to as fundraising, if they do some amazing craft, they can just show it up and then parents will get parents to pay for it, or people can auction for these things, and there's ways to make funds. Special concert. Um, all of these things can be done. So this is just as an example of my action plan that I've done, many years ago. Things would have changed and different, and we'll use that. Then we come to the budget. So in order for you to get all of that successfully done, we have to think of the budget. So how do we budget? We have to think about what supplies and materials are going to be needed for the year. Where will that money come from? Of course, you want the church to support you with that, but the church will tell you that they don't have all that money. So remember I said at the start early on that I'm seeing where the last children ministry, when I took over the last children ministry, had a budget of 500. I'm thinking, well, that can't do anything for what I want to do. So my budget was 5,000. That's a big jump from 500. But I showed how the church can support and how I'm going to do that. Then I went up to almost 20,000. And the church was like, wow, that's a big jump from 5,000 to 20,000. But I showed how we're going to get that money. and it did work. So don't be thinking that, people will support anything that they see that are benefiting the children. They just need to see it first. And they need to trust you, and they need to know that you have the children interest at heart, and they need to hear it from you and see your plan and see results. Um, Sometimes it's about being creative, using everyday object to cut down the costs, but make it stand out as well. Um, and I know that some of you might be in children ministry for a year or two. You're working on a 2-year cycle, and it will take longer. But if you do it, as I said, you're training leaders, so whoever takes over should be able to carry that on if it's not you. And it does take time. So how do you do that? I'll show you a budget that I've done to show you an example of how that looks. So this was me putting in a budget for 11,200. I think that was it at the time. But look at all the things that you're thinking. I'm thinking of, the programs that I'm going to have. You want money to help feed those children, and you want every program to be resourced. You want the VBS. It's going to cost for VBS. You're thinking about those programs. Um, every day I had after Sabbath school fruits and snack. Of course, the church should be paying for that. Um, you're thinking of anything you're doing for Christmas production or Easter production or any holiday that you're doing. You're having parents meeting. Even when you have parents meeting, you have your regular parents meeting. You want to provide them with some snacks or something, refreshments. So you're providing for that. If you're doing a choir, choir will take. You want not just singing in church, but you want your choir to be so known and big that your children choir has been invited to go and sing all over. So you provide thinking about transport and everything that needs to go with that. That's how big you're thinking. When you're providing these resources and this training, you're not thinking about just doing it in church. You're thinking about this being everybody hearing about your choir, about your Sabbath school, and inviting you and the children to take part and do something in their church or in their local community. Think big. Bibles. Do you have children's Bible in your Sabbath school? I'm not talking about the King James Version now. Children's Bible. Um, for the older ones and for the younger ones. Do you probably need to get some of these? Um, do you have the technology that you need? Do you have laptops and iPads and television screens or audiovisual, digital camera to take pictures? Because really, you shouldn't be using your mobile phones to take pictures of children unless you have permission for that. That's the safeguarding aspect of that. But if you have a designated thing for the church that you take all these pictures on that and it's secure, so get a digital camera that takes quality pictures. But if you take pictures of children on your mobile phone, make sure they're clear and you're not on your phone. And then you think about how you can get some income, fundraising, offering, donation, and get sponsorship. So that's something that alleviate. So you can see there the total expenditure in what I've put in is 23,000. But I am saying that from that I could get half of that 12,500 as income. So you fundraise, you get offering. Remember I talk about those envelope that you would have. They send home, the children will take it in. You give it to the church members, they'll put money, that's fundraising, that's offering just for children ministry. Um, and you can get donations. There are lots of opportunities to get donations from anywhere, approaching members who you think would support you on that. Sponsors, people to sponsor you, giving you some money, go to people, they will get that. So you're providing to the church that, listen, I'm looking at this budget, I'm looking at how to get some funds for this. Help us matching the funds that you get in and see how that goes. And we talk about this fundraising secrets already. And key thing is to dream big but live in reality. So make sure you're refashioning your dream to fit your reality. That was my reality. Yours might not be the same reality. And remember, it takes time and patience. It takes time and patience to um, get the board, the church, the members to this, but don't give up. It can work. All right, I'm going to take a break right here. And then when we come back, we look at how we plan our programs. Um, any questions, any thoughts? You can open your mics and have a chat. And then we come back in. We just spent 10 minutes here, but um, any, I'm going to stop sharing here. Any thoughts?
Yeah,
Any, yep.
Greg, just talking about the program itself. So, because at church we have the youth, we have pathfinders, and also with the children ministry. Every year we always clashes with the program as well. So, yeah, it's just how we can, collaborate in a many ways so we can include all the program together. So because one day we just have like whole pathfinders have the affair, but on the days while we have like a children ministry doing the just so to avoid that happen, because especially we are not a huge church, so the
Yeah.
children who are pathfinders also the children ministry and the youth as well, so they just try to make the program suitable for every department, which is included the youth, children, and also the pathfinder.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to look at when we come back, how we plan our program. And I'm going to go through a calendar that you would use to link all the program of the church. So as a member of a children ministry or the leader of a children ministry, then you will be on the board. The church should have a calendar off for the year, and you plan events around that to see how you can collaborate so you don't have these clash. Because we usually have those, one of the greatest clash we usually have is when you want to do VBS in the summer holiday, but that's a time when Pathfinder is going campaign, and that's a time when um, everything else is happening. You might have a campaign or whatever, but how do you make sure that we don't have this clash? And it's about planning for the year, having a calendar. The church's calendar matches your calendar, matches the Pathfinder calendar, and all the other departments. And that's very important. Sometimes it's not you as a leader's fault for children ministry. Sometimes the church just doesn't plan in advance. And if every department, if the church leaders and the ministry don't plan, then there will always be this clash. So we look at that. We look at the calendar, show you the calendar, and give you an example of that, how you can use that to support so we don't have the clash. All right. So we're here and we're going to think about how we plan our program, especially not to make sure that we have a clash. So um, think about our objectives, who is responsible for the different parts of the program, because you alone can't do everything. You don't have the skills, but you have people in your team who will be able to do that. What facilities that are going to be needed, what supplies are going to be needed for these programs, who will supply what, who would coordinate, how are we going to publicize this, what's the timeline, and you're going to establish a complete date for each detail of presentation. So what I have here is this was one of my calendar. I look at every um, Sabbath and I put it there. I'm sure this is not for this year because the first Sabbath is on the third. So I'll go through. and you can use AI to do a simple one. I think I can show you how to do that. But AI could just create a form like this without you having to go and type it in. Or you could just use this example, which I'll share, and give you an outline of what is there. So you will see that each um, I've included charity, which is a mission focus for our children. When will they do charity? So at the start of the year, you have something coming up for Easter, you want to do that, or you want to do something in at the end of the year where you will have leading up to Christmas, you have that. You think about when is half term or the holiday, children's school holiday, you plan your creativity workshops and so forth around that. I would have a I would have a children's church once per quarter, and I'll talk about how you focus on at least once it's not overwork. You think about when you have Mother's Day because you want to get children involved with that, and this was based on the Grace Link curriculum where you have Grace Worship Community Service, and you link those. It can still be the same for you, or you can have different focus for each month. It doesn't matter. And 13 Sabbath. One of the things that usually clashes is that when the church plans something and not realizing 13 Sabbath is happening, and you have to then fight for that. So one of the things they usually do is to plan a communion, which clashes with the 13 Sabbath program, and you have to fight to say no because communion doesn't have to be on that day, but 13th Sabbath is the end of the last Sabbath, and you want children, even though it doesn't have to be, but you want to celebrate, you want to be consistent with that, so you fight for that. Easter programs, you always think of what programs you're going to do for Easter around that time. Link the children with that. Um, Charity work, if you have ADRA doing fundraising as a church, you link that into what is happening. I always include something where we want our church to do something like street cleaning around the church. So see, being visible with the community, then you get the community involved. Um, Anything that is on a national or international level, you want to also bring that in. World Day of Prayer for Children, all of those things, you bring that in. Children, I know in Jamaica, I know we have came here from Jamaica, they have a month which they do brilliantly well with Child's Month, and every day of the week that is focus, you add that into your calendar. If there's a camp meeting happening, if there's Pathfinder Father's Day, another end of quarter, you build that VBS, there's any community show, we usually have a country show for the community. You want the children to be involved in that VBS and a celebration, and another street cleaning, and you plan this around the weather as well. So here in the UK, we have winter and summer, so you plan these things for summer. Um, you have end of quarter programs, social activities you want for the children. You want to do some social activities, whether it is movie night or whatever, games night or socials, you do that. Think about Pathfinder and you plan around that so you don't have anything clashing. Choirs, singing, caroling, whatever, end of your program, socials. So that you plan that in and you plan what is happening for each Sabbath. So you don't have a clash. And if here you would then put where the church programs are happening, so you know what is happening, so you can build around that. And this will then help to alleviate any clash, but also to make sure that the children are involved in anything that the church is doing. So I hope this, Ramona, will is helpful for you to see how you once you have a calendar. That's why I said plan for the year, and once you have a calendar, then you will see what is happening. The church should have a calendar looking like this for what is happening for every Sabbath, and you know what is happening, the big plans, and any departments that are having you check with them. They know what is happening for you. You know what is happening for them. Included in that at the bottom here, we talk about end of year plans, Pathfinder Club. How does that link? How do you make sure you're having those things? Children's choir, where do you practice? How do you practice times? Parents meeting, having one at least twice a year, at least. Could be a quarter, each quarter you put the dates in. Um, and parents will also have this. So what we did at the start of the year when I started it, I had a children's ministry registration form. So you get the children, so parents will register. This at that time, technology was not advanced, but now we have forms. You can do it electronically, create a form, Google form or Microsoft form, where parents will register their children, and you have all the information: the child's name, age, date of birth, and the school that they're going in, or the school that they're at, because as a children ministry leader, you want to be interested in your child's school. And if where possible, you have communication with the school. Children can invite you to their school to do a workshop or something. And if you're selling your VBS or anything that is happening, you can always go to their school, or you can share with their teachers. So you're looking at the whole child, getting the parents' contact details, any allergies you need to know. Remember, we talk about being a safe space. So you need, if there's any allergies, if there's any special needs of that child, the parents will then put that information, and you'll have that information, emergency contact. Again, getting permission for videoing the children or taking pictures of the children. Don't assume that it's okay. Some children we have, I had children in my Sabbath school who were looked after, and special care, so they shouldn't be taking a photograph or having videos. So when we do anything, they're at a special place, so we don't take pictures with them or we put them in the picture, but in the background, we blur their face out of it. All of that information is there, so you can have that. Your file list with the church clerk, with the church. Don't ever keep this data because of data protection. Don't keep this data in your personal thing. Keep it as a church securely, but you have that contact. Then from this, you would then create a database for each Sabbath school class, and then the Sabbath school, the person in charge of that Sabbath school class will then have that data where they can always communicate with the parents via email and so forth. So that's a way that you're not you have the whole data as the leader, and as a leader, think of yourself as the head teacher or the principal for a school, where you have the overall view of all the special needs, all the teachers, you know about them, you're checking in with them, but also you have each teacher will have the information for their class, and they are focusing on making sure that their class is the best, and every teacher have that information, so you're checking in on that. This is by the side here is the calendar example of what the calendar looks like, not in black and white. So at the start of the year, you have all parents registering their children, because of course you're running a club, you're running a creche, you're running a daycare center for children, and you want to have all this information so you can plan and prepare for them. And especially if there's allergies, you don't want to give children anything that they shouldn't be eating. Making sure that it's taken care. If there's special needs, you need to know who is in your child class. It have special needs, and how you're going to work on that. Then here I would have a letter that the parents will get, telling. So I've just done this one recently, which is linked to the new curriculum, because the one I had was linked to the Grace link. So this link to the new curriculum, you say your name, your church's name, you say what you're going to be covering, give it an outline, the time that the Sabbath school is there, what they'll find in the pack. You'll have the overview of the curriculum that they're going to be studying for that quarter. You welcome the memory verse that they're going to have, and these are from the Grace Link, not the Grace Link, the Alive. The activities for families, the mission focus, and a commitment to children, which is a 10 promise, and there's a resource that I can send that goes with this. You say the time, and parents will know that this is the age group. Again, when you have dedication, this letter is in the pack for the parents, so they know and they can sign up their children. If they have bigger children, the children can sign up. So you cover all of those things. Give your details. I'll suggest you have an email address from the church, not your personal email address. So you should have a children's ministry at and you get an email address from the church that will link, so parents are not feeling that they're talking to personal, they're talking to the church, and they have a contact number for you that you're happy to share, that anybody can have, and it's publicized. And you also have a letter on the right there, which is for volunteers, because you want to welcome your volunteers, make your volunteers feel safe to talk about what your aim is, how they're going to work, and they'll focus on their code of conduct and safeguarding. That is key, and that is in the pack. So the parents get a pack, they sign their children up, they get a pack at the start of the year, so they know what is going to happen. You give them the information. The volunteers who are there, your assistants, they have a pack as well, with a welcome pack that gives them every information, and it covers all of that. So at the start, you're setting up what we want, and everything is there for you. And the Gracelink, this was the Gracelink one that we had, but now we're thinking of the Alive curriculum, and you will have all the information that is there. You have the copies of these. When we have dedication, and usually every baby dedication, the parents will get a copy of the um, beginners, or the children's version of the book. And what we did, we give them a book. We give books for the parenting book, information for parents, and child caring and all those things. So whatever resources you could give the parents, the children will get their pack. They'll get a certificate signed by you as a children's ministry leader and the pastor, and you'll give them a nicely package for the family. So they know, have all the flyers that everything you're promoting for the year is in that, so they know what is happening and start preparing for that. And you hope, you contact them, you keep in touch with them, send information. You have email, just send information to the parents weekly or monthly, quarterly, so that they are kept updated on what is happening. If we're going to recruiting your staff, is there any question, any thought on what I've said? I don't want to do it just talking. If you have question, just put your hand up and ask. Any question, any thoughts?
So for the resources, can we get it? I know this is just about the budget. Can we get it for like a hard copy? I know there's some online. I just checked for the beginner. Actually, they
Mhm.
have a different, not from Graceling. They actually have a different, what is it, a website now.
Yes.
So I just actually printing it. So any that's resources for the parents that you can have, because at the moment lots of children actually go online, but for the beginners actually
Hmm.
needed like a hard copy, or also some of the children coming with the none of us, and they
Yeah.
don't have, some of them don't read it, some of them not allowed to go online, so the parents need to do it. Any for the church as well, we can have a hard copy for that, and then we can share them,
Yep, yeah,
print.
and you can also print some of those things. But the hard copies are sold through the bookshops, or so when you order the adult quarterlies, one of the thing I usually make sure we have is excess, especially the younger ones have an excess, because if you're thinking of baby dedication, you need to always have in store to give those. And the church, you sell that as part of the church's evangelism mission program. So the church should be responsible to buying those things and all the resources for the children.
Sorry, so one more question.
Yeah.
For how about the send one? Because I can't really find the resources for the children with disability. Because we have one actually, not younger one. They have a like a visual impairment as well, and also
Yeah.
slightly deaf. Anything that we try to find resources for that. So if even we went to the North American division as well,
Mm.
they can't find it. So like relate to our church. So
Yeah.
anything that resource that we can find for them.
I think
Yes.
I think I think that is key. A lot of the things I don't think we prepare well enough for special needs children in our churches, and sometimes it's going to be as a church we look at because we are doing it as a service, and that's one way we can support families. So if we can't find it, I'll say get it done as part of adding to your budget about providing or printing these resources for um, and check. I would say check with societies that probably work with blind or these different disabilities. ASNA is uh, one connection I'm thinking here that you could probably check with ASNA. They probably can signpost you as to where you'll find resources and how they can support you in getting resources for those children.
I
And
also have a question.
yes.
We have quite a few people online now who they will be teaching Sabbath school for the first time at Aylesbury Church next year.
Hmm.
Can you give any examples of how you can actually structure the lesson and the activities to engage the children at different age groups?
Yeah. So is this a mixed ability group or is it
Um, no, for the different classes.
for
So you
different
can pick
person?
any class and give an example of how you can structure the lessons for.
Okay. We look at that when we come onto the curriculum.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And I
Right.
have another because one of the challenges we face is with the older children not engaging with the quarterly and doing their reading
Hmm.
in preparation for the Sabbath. So they come into Sabbath school not having read their quarterly, and sometimes they're not actually coming in. They're not motivated to come to Sabbath school. Are there any strategies you can recommend for us to sort of motivate them? And also, given that, how then do we assess the spiritual growth of our children in the ministry?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I'll cover that when we come onto the curriculum and the volunteers. So
Yeah.
and if is there any more questions? If not, you can type them in the chat. I'll answer them or on the side or um right. So recruiting staff. So for you to get staff, okay, some of you have been given leaders as your assistant, based on the nominating committee and so forth. Fine, they must have known, but recruiting additional members is a key. It's not simply, and I just read this here, it says simply listing personal needs and asking for volunteers from the pulpit may produce no response, or may produce volunteers who lack qualifications and fitness for your team. It might be just as effective to run down the aisle during church and grab just anyone amid protests and hurry them off to a class. That's not what you want. You want to make sure you have the right people, the people who are fit to work with children, who will get the best out of children, who will support children, and who have a heart for children. And we're going to think about what that is. So, a question here I have for you is we're going back to Slido. What is the key factor in retaining volunteers for children ministry? Giving out gifts, offering free meals, providing free regular training, or hosting monthly parties. Which one do you think is the key factor to make sure we have um, keep our volunteers happy? A few people have responded, just waiting on two more. And then me see, you can type your answer in the chat if you think, if you don't, if you're not on side, you can type your answer in the chat.
Providing regular training.
To provide regular training from Chido. Yeah, that's what 100% per person saying. You're right. If you provide us training regularly, and training comes in many different ways, then they will be happy. Next question is, which of the following is a good way to appreciate your volunteers? Is it public recognition, sending emails, assigning more responsibility, or giving them tasks? Which one to show the appreciation of your staff? Do you send an email to them regularly and say, or do you publicly recognize them, or is that giving them more jobs to do? Yeah. Anybody else? To, yeah, 100%. Make sure you publicly recognize them. Every 13 Sabbath, you show that recognition. You share that. You talk about the great work that they're doing. Make them feel welcome. What is the important quality to look for in a volunteer? Is it their patience? Is it their artistic talent, the physical strength, or the technical skills, knowing how to do things? Which one would you look for in a volunteer for your group? Oh, somebody says patience. Yeah, 100% patience. And Cheetahs in the chat says patience as well. You need Working with children is hard work, but you have to be patient. It teaches you patience. And I can tell her I'm a teacher for over 25 years and I know. But it's good when you're patient, it builds character. Okay, so let's think about how we recruit staff. Um, this is to help us making sure they know what it is they're going to be doing. You pray about this, who you're going to have, pray that they'll be the right fit. Um, you give them and observe them working with children. You also ask God to help you seek the right people, and you ask for a decision and provide pre-service and ongoing service of training. So you take those steps and you take care to discover, motivate, recruit, and train your workers. We need to make sure we train our workers. So the key element in effective recruitment, that they have clear job definition. What is it you're recruiting? What do you want them to do? It's not just filling in a gap because you don't have many teachers. You give them specific role, and there are many roles people can volunteer for. So, for example, if you want somebody to volunteer just to prepare the meal, when I had summer school, I had people who were not good with children, but they were great with food. Say, can you provide? And they will go and do the shopping every week and make sure you have the fruits and make sure the fruit is ready in the morning. And as soon as Sabbath school is over, they'll provide the food and it's ready for them. That's their volunteering skills. You have different things that you want to do. You will look at key ones are those who are children who are university graduates. They would be good to volunteer, or using the teens. Teens are good children to use to support you in doing things, especially, those creative things. They are really good. And ask for referrals. Who do you think will work? Because they have some people there who are great with kids, but you might not know. They might just sit down and you have those conversations with them. Um, you need to know who to avoid. You don't want those people who are trying to relive their youth or their childhood in Sabbath school, or going back to how they used to have Sabbath school. You want to know who to avoid. Um, you need to recognize, reward, and restore your workers. Make sure you're always doing that. At the end of the year, I usually take my Sabbath school team out for a meal and just take them to a restaurant and spend some good time eating and just laughing and having fun. Um, that is something, and that's part of budgeting for the year. You say to the church, we're getting these donations, getting these funds, you have funds here. We're going to take that, we buy the meal, parents can pay for the drink, the volunteers can pay for the drink, but we buy the meal, or we can have a party. Sometimes after VBS, I'll have a barbecue, and I invite everybody over for a barbecue, and we just sit and have a good time. Can do that. And it's not just at the end of the year. You're recognizing them, summer, winter, whatever, Easter. You're giving some recognition, saying something, thank you. So you're continually recognizing your volunteers and saying thanks to them. They feel appreciated. They want to support, and they'll do more, and they'll get even more volunteers. And you want to get volunteers for training. Don't say children ministries training. Don't say Sabbath school training. Make it different. Make it different. Sometimes the name alone turns you off. I'm going to have Sabbath school training. Oh, no, no. You make sure food is there. You make sure it's a get together that they want to be involved. But food is always something that is good to have your training. Once you have some snacks, some light refreshments or whatever it is, people will turn up for the training. So you prepare that for them. Um, then when it comes on to the facilities that you have, start with what you have, even if it is one small room. Make sure it is clean and welcoming, and you have some things on the wall that looks nice. Do you have a list of all the children who are born in the month of March, January, February, so we know whose birthday is coming up? And do you have work that the children that are doing? If you work in a school, you would be doing this regularly, where you have displays and all those things. The same, just think about a classroom, how you want it to be vibrant and alive, and having the children work, and you have posters, and some of the work that the children have created, you can use it as posters. Take pictures of all the events that is happening, every event, every activity, and just take pictures of children doing the work, or short videos, because then you have a bank of resources for the end of the quarter that you can share, and you can create little videos. You get the younger ones, the teens, to help you doing some Instagram posts or some whatever with permit, because you would have permission from the parents to video these children, to photograph these children. So you now have all the resources you need to create some good snippets of what is happening in Sabbath school, get it to be shared on this church website, to get it on the social medias, talk about the children, speak with the communication leads to say, can you post this? Can you help us with those? Even if you don't have the skills, get the communication team to get people up there and assign people to your Sabbath school to take pictures and report on what is happening. That's how you work with the different departments to make sure everybody is on board. Bright the colors flyers, word of the month, Bible verse of the month, even if it asks the children to take pictures, and the picture of the month, whatever it is, just get a lot of publicity and take advantage of every opportunity to publicize your children ministry. Every time you go up on the platform, every time you have an opportunity to speak to the pastor, every time you have an opportunity to speak on the board, every time you have an opportunity to talk to another department, talk about children. They should be tired of hearing you, and they know once they see you, they should see children, and they know what is happening. So make sure you're publicizing everything that you do, so that people can know, and you're advocating for children as much as possible. And then once all that is done, you need to do this key bit of information. I can't tell you how valuable this is. A lot of Sabbath school leaders leave this part out. Continuously, every time you have a program, every Sabbath, evaluate how was the Sabbath school, how was the day. Go around making sure you see, and it will be good if you, as the Sabbath school leader, have time to go around and see everybody in action, and also to give everybody the opportunity to go around and see everybody else in action, see what is happening in every department. It's always good to have that, to see, and then sit down and have regular staff evaluation, talk about that on a quarterly basis, terminal basis. Let's talk about what is happening. Let's evaluate the program so far. How is it going? Go back to the action plan that you had at the beginning. Tick off what is going well, what you have done, what are the objectives that you have, and the outcomes. Did you meet those outcomes? And is it anything that we need to adjust? Ask parents for their feedback, and they don't have to be, it could be anonymously done. Always ask parents, how your children are finding Sabbath school. How is it? Do you support? What do you need? Just get that information from parents, and you can do Google Forms and send it in a text message, or in WhatsApp. You can do a poll and just send it out. Have a group, ask parents permission. Have a WhatsApp group that you communicate clearly and often with the parents. Have your feedback from them. Get the input from the children as well. The best input or the best evaluation are from children. I do this every year. At the end of every year, I ask children to write my report to my mom. I said to them, I'm right. You're gonna get a report from the school to give to your parents about how you have been in the year and how you have performed. I want you to write me a report, and this is a one time you can write anything you want to say. If you hate me, if you didn't like me, if you, whatever you want to write, you're not going to get in trouble. I'm not going to tell your parents anything. It's for me, and my mom will read this and see if I have been a good teacher. And you'll be amazed at what the children write. They're so honest. And one other thing I realized that some children perceive that I have favorites in my class. I'm like, really? Do I? We do have those children that are very, really well behaved and never give a trouble, and the children just think, oh, that's your favorite. So you have to think about, okay, how do I make sure as a teacher I don't have children thinking that I have favorites? Because the only way I could have known that is because of their input. So get children input is very important. Um, Happy children will be there with and will bring their friends if they have a good experience. So, um, feedback simply by their presence is important. So if you see children that are not coming to your Sabbath school, think about, why is it that they're not coming? Why is it that they're not engaging? Is it that we're not making this fun enough? We're not having the experience. They're not being challenged. They're not given activities that will challenge them to want to go and study. How do we? I know Tricia asked about how do we get children to come ready for Sabbath school and do the quarterly, but then the question is, what are we challenging? How are we giving them some activities to do that will challenge them, reading and studying to prepare? And then when they come, they have that. So, it's how can they do a video or something and reward them, give them some stickers or something that the person who did this, and you will see how next week everybody come prepared. So think about what is it we're doing. And remember, it's not just for Sabbath school, and it's not just the quarterly. You have to incorporate the faith journey with what they're already doing. Ask children what they would like and what they don't like, and find out why is it that you find it difficult to study the quarterly or to be prepared or so forth. How can we help? And they will be honest, and eliminate the things that they don't like and change it that they don't like that they like. So, for example, if they want to do a memory verse, and you want them to learn the memory verse, they could create this memory verse in a song. You know what? You could use AI to do that too, and create a song, and then they come and they sing it to them in a teacher class, and the one that has the best one that's what we're going to use for Sabbath school and so forth. And you pick them up in church and say, you know what, this child create this song, and it's there for them to use. Um, and as the group change from year to year, so you keep asking questions. So don't think you do the one evaluation. Some children move on from one Sabbath school to the next in the middle of the year. So you need to still ask the question because they're going to have different teachers and different things happening in different classes. So make sure you think about that. Listen to children, get to know them, find out what activities they'd like to see added. What do they do at school? What do they do outside of school? Some children, they're doing music and doing all these things, and we don't know that they have special lessons, and we don't know that because we don't communicate with them. But if we listen to the children, find out what they're doing, and then you incorporate that, and always looking for ways to improve your Sabbath school. So, as a Sabbath school team, these are the questions you need to think. What are the most critical milestones in a child's spiritual development from birth to 18? If you know those, you then think of strategies to engage them. What activities resonate with those children that you are working with? And how can technology be effectively integrated into Sabbath school or not? And this one is key for me, and this is why I go around doing training in terms of how do we use the technology that is there? AI is there to help us support this. And if you can think of using AI to support your Sabbath school, it will be a game changer. And I think that sometime I'll do a training on that, but I'm happy to support if you need that information. Then you think about parents and leaders. What resources do parents and leaders need to succeed in their spiritual development of their children? So remember, you are the one to facilitate and encourage and provide the parents and the leaders resourcing and material and training. So what can we do? You can provide training for the parents. You can have a parenting workshop and you get departments who are in health or education to come and do a training in terms of how to develop the children and support the children at home. How can we foster ongoing training and encouragement for these Sabbath school teachers? You have training like this, but you can have resources that you can, drip feed and videos online that you can drip feed and share with your team. And what benchmark or outcome indicates the curriculum or is nurturing and thriving relationship with Jesus? Trisha asked that question. How do we know that there's spiritual maturity? One of the things you will think about is the involvement in church, but also the dedication and baptism. I usually see a lot of my children being baptized, not necessarily there and then, but by the time they get to teens, you see them because they're developing, and you see that they're involved in pathfinders and they're leading out in a church services, and then they're the ones who are leading. You will see it, but you need to know what is it you're going to use and how do you access spiritual growth of your children and youth. Key questions that you need to do. So, what are some of the new children's program I'd like to see this year or next year, starting in January? And how would you rate the current curriculum and what would you do to improve that? What are the potential volunteers you want to see train up to be in our children's ministry? How can you get parents involved in transporting or evaluation? How can you get parents involved in this? Parents are key. A lot of my Sabbath school teachers were parents who you grew up in, and you see how they work with children. And if parents have an interest for their children, they'll do the best to see and support their children, and everybody else's children will benefit. How can we improve the facilities? So remember, I said think big, start small. So if you have one room and you think the floor is dirty, what can we do? Probably you could get it. You could go to the church and say, "Can we get a carpet, or can we get some line, or something that will make it easy to clean?" And we can have. You could say, "Do we need some soft toys? Do we need some games or something for the little babies to come and play with? Or do we need?" One other thing I did was to get a changing room for parents because. Or a parenting room where the young mothers can go and baby feed their children. Do we make sure we have all those facilities? What do we need to improve? And think about our budget. We talk about budget already. and involving our children and our parents in the evaluation process. Um, so we talked about these questions already. This is what an evaluation form would look like. So you talk about your ministry's year on review. So if you are doing, you did a let out in the Sabbath school for this year, you could use this evaluation form to look at it. List the three main duties of your department. What are the department's objectives? This was from 2018. I did this anyway, but what were the objectives, and were these objectives met, and if so, how? What did the department achieve this year? List all the things that you have done. What did you do well? Give examples. Was there any weakness? Was there any strength? What did you find difficult? What were the strengths of your department? Was it a Sabbath school? Was it the VBS? Was it the training? Was it the children activity? Whatever it is. What were the weaknesses? What struggles you had? What didn't you do well? And you get your team to evaluate this. What area does your department need to work on for next year? And what areas are departments are the objective for the next year? What are these objectives that you want to give? And then you look back and think, was it successful, fairly successful, very successful, excellent? Have those communication. And this is a example of one that I've done. You can see details, and I had my meeting with my team, and we discuss this, we look at this, we talk about this, and we clearly come up with all of these. This wasn't just me. Everybody talk about it together and shared, and we know the weaknesses, the strength, and what we want. And we thought we were very successful as a team. So this was, I think, 2015 or 2018 I did this. But this is also an example to show you how you could do an evaluation with your team at a year, and it's something that you can do right away. Give it to your team members, ask them to write it down, and then collate that information and present it there. So that's a few reflection question before we look into the curriculum. And then we think about the VBS. Reflect on how you can create a welcoming space that reduces fear and anxiety, allowing children to feel secure and open to hearing God's calling to them. How do you do that? And think about how preparation can free you to be fully present and intentional in engaging with children. And this means when you go on it, because you would have planned for the year, you'd have planned week in advance, you'd have planned a week for what you're doing, you know exactly what you're going. When you get there, you're not. The worst thing I ever want to see or like seeing is you going to Sabbath school, you take your children there, the parents are waiting, the children are sitting there waiting, and then the leader comes in and start taking out things and preparing. And I usually go to church on a Friday evening. In fact, on a Thursday, I make sure I work with the deacon department, and they say, can you make sure you clean this room, have these things. They know how I wanted the rooms to be set out and which carpet should be where. I bought some new carpets that had some baby carpets for the baby room, and some for the no, I think it was linked to the whatever the theme is for the quarter. So you have creation in one, and you had Noah's Ark in one, and all the different Bible stories on this carpet. And I said they know which one to put out, where to put it, and that's done on Thursday. And I'll go on Friday and check out the room, and I'll make sure everything is in place. So when you go on a Saturday to Sabbath school, everything is in place, and you're prepared. Now, I take it not all churches might have that facility, but those facilities, but in terms of preparing, then if you have to go early on a Sabbath morning, you are early before everybody else, and everything is there. So when the children come, you are ready for them. You're engaging with them and not worrying about the resources, and everybody's early. That is key. that sends a message to children. And I would say make sure you start on time and end on time. You know why? Because children will come late. They'll, oh man, they miss out the activities. Well, even if it is one you're starting and you carrying on, because if you don't do that, if you start to slip up on that, then they realize, oh, it's a habit. But then they'll see that they miss out, they'll come early next week and you make it fun and exciting and everybody's like leaving with something because you came late. So you're reflecting on your actions, your words and lessons and think about how it can guide children to see themselves as part of God's family and respond to His love. We're going to just look quickly, briefly on the new curriculum. But before we do that, any questions? I know we only have about 15 minutes. Do we want to take a break or do we want to just carry on?
Can I just have one question about the babies? Because in this year, I think from Trisha's going to do a new class, which is babies and beginners, because
Yeah.
last year we mixed them. So we have a lot of babies at the moment. For the props and everything, yeah, I remember when I grew up in Stambra with my children, they have a lot, babies and then also prop. Is there anywhere to start up for us if it's a new? We can have like I know, it's a second hand or things like that, props, so we call it the felt, like the creation. Is there any felt or any things that prop that we can resource it, we can borrow or we can, we can have really? Yeah, it's just because it's a lot to start as with this our new class.
Uh, I tell you, I'm just thinking about it now. If you're thinking about babies class, one of the things you probably want to do is to speak with parents or the church, because a lot of parents who would have had children might have a lot of resources that they could donate, but you also need to think that hygiene, in terms of things that can be clean and used effectively, because babies are babies and they'll put things in their mouth and you have to make sure all those things are sterilized and you have a team that we're working with the deacon and deaconesses to make sure that all of that is there. But I think working with putting out your wish list for the church and asking the church to support this, and even the parents themselves will bring some toys along. But that's key. All right. Should we go on? Do you want to take 5 minutes break? What do we say?
Go on for me.
Okay. Okay, so we'll go on and I'm happy to continue. Okay, so curriculum, just looking at the new curriculum that is coming out. The website Alive in Jesus is the new curriculum, and all the resources are there. There's lots of training, the videos that are there. I personally, I don't know why we're rolling out year on year. I can see why they're trying to say if you start each year, then by the time the child starts, because they have year A, B, and C. But I would think that you just continue and just change everything one at a time. But it's there, and this is an outline, the kindergarten and primary participation guide gives you a breakdown of that. Um, this was written by some people from Australia, New Zealand, America, and UK. So it's people and get ideas from all over the world. And its aim is to capture the wonderful stories in the Bible so that children will remember them from year to year. So this was just the introduction of it. It says this is equip, empower parents, caregivers, and Sabbath school teachers and Sabbath school leaders, and it makes disciples who make disciples. So, want children to learn and help to teach others. So hold on to Jesus' hand, know the truth as is revealed in His word, and grow daily. Stand confident, go and share the good news and make a difference in the community. Basically, that's what it wants the children to do. And foundation is the fellowship development. We talk about this at the beginning, where um, the fellowship, the fun, the food, the four F's that is there is incorporated in this new curriculum, and it's a partnership with parents that you're developing. So Sabbath School is in partnership with parents as a place where a child can grow in their faith, development in age. Appropriate activities that are joyful, thoughtful, provoking, and transformational learning to follow, love, and serve Jesus. So similar to the Grace Link, all about that. And this is what the sequence, the baby step scope sequence. We have 4 quarters. First quarter is God made the world, God, the Good Shepherd, Noah and the animals, a special baby, that's at Christmas. And then you have the part time for the parents, parenting with purpose, parenting happy children, parenting happy children part two, and lessons from the best father. So you have the aspect for the children and the parents, because it's more collaborating with parents, so you can support parents at home to support their children on the spiritual journey. So that's, think of yourself as the facilitators, that when you have the children, you're recapping what they should have done at home, and you're providing the resources for the parents at home. And then you have the beginners and the sequence here. So last year they introduced the baby step. This year they're introducing the beginners. They introduced the baby step and the beginners last year. They're going into the primary this year. And these are the quarters that will be covered. This is a kindergarten and a primary that is being covered for this year, and these are the outline of that. This is all on the website, and I have some material here that I'll share with you, so you know what is coming up. So you look at this to help you plan for the year. So in that document that I showed you earlier, and then you'll put these in the different headline as to what the quarter is covering, and how your activities and all of that will be linked to your craft, to your music, to everything that you're planning for the year. And then you have the juniors, which would be covering again year A, B, and C, and covers all these aspects of that. Thank you, Ramona, for putting the link in the chat. And there's, you remember on the document I had for planning, it gives you the pillars. So their pillars in the Alive in Jesus are based on grace, character, and mission. So I had four in that. You could just replace these with those characters. So each month you're focusing on a different character of a different pillar of the curriculum: grace, character, and mission, and that will be linked. So the grace here is around showing children that Jesus loved them and that they can come to him as they are. You know, he's the one who covers us and works in our lives. And the lessons are for everyone, regardless of wherever the children are coming from, whether they're Adventists or not, and created to draw the children into Jesus' loving embrace and to show them clear pictures of his love and grace. And every lesson points children to Jesus, who gives the gifts of grace. So that's the aim of those lessons. So you want them to then transfer that in their life and give grace unto others, in terms of their mission and what they do. Then you have the character focus here that grows the characters of our children in guiding them towards Jesus as the one of the most important things we can do. Character building, is the most important work ever interested in human beings, and never before was it diligent study so important and now. So you do a lot of character building work through the scriptures on that. And they can clearly articulate it in big ideas and in the word of the week. So that's why you have these words of the week, and you think of those, focus what the quarterly is focusing on. You have those words up, integrity and all these characters. And then children can reflect this in their own character, and those around them. And then you focus on the mission, seeks to inspire and equip young people. to be active in the mission in the local church. Let them know how amazing their friendship with him is and incredible news of salvation, and they foster joy in relationship with Jesus that can be contained, and they are active influencers for Jesus. This is where we talk about influencers in social media and all of those things. This is where you're using those skills and those that they're saying. So, if you have children and teens, they're locked onto Instagram and TikTok and all of those things. Instead of them, banning them from these, let's create some of these. Help me create. You get the teens to help you create and get the children to be involved in these memes and whatever. But it's all about influencing for Jesus. Passionate and having the tools to share the great news of the gospel of the Seventh-day Adventist message. Again, in using technology, can do that. Mission focus in every lesson, helping in the home, helping others, sharing their faith and retelling Bible stories in their own words, giving Bible study to their friends. All of those are the mission focus of the new curriculum. So, grace, character, and mission are the four roles. We talk about the role of leaders already. I'm just going to go through this quickly. But again, this is from the manual. Talks about the role of you as the leader. You need to make sure children are safe, they're secure, they're interested, they're happy, they'll learn. That's what your aim is for. And from the manual, good preparation, planning ahead, flexible for all kinds of children, prepare and be punctual, happy, have everything ready, everyone is on time, interactive with the children, support the one leading. So you need assistants who are supporting one leading, get to know the children, programs, keep the program rolling along. Empty time leaves opportunity for misbehavior. And I didn't say anything about behavior in children, because if they're active, if you have all this in place, you don't have time for misbehave. They misbehave when you are not prepared, when you're not ready, and they have time to be wasting. Having some ground rules, working as a whole team, run them past some parents if it's appropriate to what you're thinking, so parents can be involved. Ask the children question, rules for few, positive and simple. The framework talks about the role of the Sabbath school leaders and the curriculum guide. And I think it was Trisha talk about how we focus on the weekly lessons. So it talks about the five H's: the hook, the head, the heart, the hand, and the hooray. So that's how you're going to build around your curriculum. How you make sure you have the hook, the head, the heart, and the hand, and the hooray. So the hook is where you have a question or something that will get the children attention. It could be a segment to set the scene for the week that they're going to study, that they have been studying. And, I always want to go ahead. There's always a question: do you review the lesson, or do you prepare for the week ahead? And I always go for preparing for the week ahead. So you set the hook in the Sabbath school and say, this is what we're going to do. This is what this week is going to be. And you create that hook. So you get the interest of the children. So you're not forcing instruction on them. You're getting them ready, awaken the mind, keep them interested. So how do you start, even with just children's story, how do you start a children's story? If I've ever been to your church, you'll see me have my box, and I'll take some things out and I say, this is my box, and I have this, and then what this is going to do. And they're like, or I'll have a balloon that, gets their interest. So you have the hook. Then you go to the head. So it says here in Psalms 119:11, God appeals to his people to seek him first and to love him above all else. We are to hide his word in our heart, and we might not sin against him. And we teach these words diligently to our children, talk to them about the word. So this is where you go to the head. Students are invited to discover, explore, and interact with what they learn in different ways. So teachers should lead children to think clearly and understand the truth for themselves. So you have those inquiry, those discussion questions for them to think. And then you focus on the heart. So you're bringing our children to the feet of Jesus, reflection with object lessons and discussion so that they will not only gain knowledge. So you want them to know the facts, but not only to know the facts, but they are convicted in their heart that, I'm not going to do this, because I believe, and you can show them in some object lessons and some activities, and you want that aspect. And then you want the hands-on activities where they're doing something. The goal is to involve the children in mission. So now, how can we use what we have learned in our head, how we feel now? How can we do something about it? How can we go and do a mission? What mission can you do? It could be as a whole group, or it could be, what are you going to do this week? And next week they come back, get there. How did you do this? Can you reflect on, you know, and you reward those children who are participating. You talk about it. They get them to share in church. You get them to do a video recording and all of those things. You're linking that together. And then this is where the celebration comes in. Learning is more effective and more likely to be retained when it's accompanied by joy. The hooray, we did it, yay. People learn how to learn, to love learning when they enjoy the process. Children will be like, wow, great, it's fun. So this is a new curriculum. Everything is in the new curriculum, and these are the 4 aspects. So if you think of your lessons as you're starting with the hook, so if you have an hour with them, how are you going to make sure, wow, so it could be just the resources. Today, children, we're going to be doing this and we're going to create this and then wow, everybody is exciting. And then first, you go to the head, to go to the Bible story, you talk about it. So let's learn, before we do this, let's learn this lesson. And you spend the time, it's almost having a circle and divide it into the different section, fifth. So it's 5 areas. How are you going to do this? Then you go to the heart and you go, now that we have learned that story, how does that make you feel? How does it make you think? And you have them reflect on this and share their thoughts, and or have a scenario that you say, this happens, and how do you think this person should have dealt with it based on the lesson that you have done? And then they go to the hands, and it's okay. We're going to do some activities now around this that we can share with the church, or we can provide this, and we can going to record this and send it to all the parents or whatever. And then you did it and you hooray, and you come back next week and tell me, what do you think? And if you get feedback from the parents or feedback from the members or so, you share the feedback and say, this is what so and so said. Record them saying it so you can play it to them and they can hear, and they're engaging with that, and they're like, wow, and they're more engaging for the next lesson. And that is how you get the best out of the children. You hook them, you teach them, you give them scenarios that reflect, object lessons. And then from there, you go to the hands. Let's do some activities. Let's create some things now. And then to the hooray, we're celebrating this. So it's in the chat. A live curriculum is there in the chat that will help you with all that information. The resources are great. Everything is there for you, and you can get that in. There's one thing it talks about Zooming on the 28th. And I have a pack. I don't know if any of you who knows about this, the 28 Fundamentals as a Bible Adventure for Young Readers. There are study guides that you would use. I usually use this in the summer as a Bible challenge for the summer. So I would give for the month of August, when they're on holiday, I'll give a pack of 7 each week. So each week they'll get 7. They'll complete those and bring them back, and they have to read the Bible, study, answer some questions, and they will take them back to you. You give them another pack of 7, and by the end of the month, you have 28 fundamentals that are covered. There's songs that go with each fundamentals, and you will then have a celebration or graduation at the end of the month, or in September when you have your 13th Sabbath, you celebrate these graduates and you give them a special gift. And so I have these available to share because these are really great resources. And it talk about zooming in the 28, zooming in to see who God is. So while you're doing that and they're working with their parents to learn all these things. So this focus is just one of the empowerment that the 28, the new curriculum is also focusing on, is to get this done. These are the resources that are available on the website. You have the teacher's guides, you have cards, you have character cards that you can print and have on in display. You have the guides for teachers and you have the guide for students, and it's all there on the website. And what you also have is for the quarter, it gives you the breakdown of what each lesson is. You have a bookmark that you can, these are bookmarks that you can print. On the front, you'll see what is being covered and the lesson guides for the month as your bookmark. You have resources like these for the kindergarten offering chart. And you can see that resource. You also have these resources that you have for kindergarten, summer school as visual, that you can have a breakdown into the lesson, how you can have your lessons, early activities, welcome and praise, offering and prayer, secret surprise box, the Bible story, nature or mission, and then the craft and the goodbye. So again, the hooks that we talk about are there embedded in this as a visual schedule, and this will help especially children who need to have a visual in classroom. You have what you call visual timetables. You can create that for your class, so you have it on a poster on your wall, so children know what activities are there. You could give special tasks to special children. If they're early, they're the ones who get to be the task manager, and they put up these things and then take out. When we finish one, we know where we are, and you give them these special jobs. But if they're not early, they're not going to be here. So they're covering everything anyway. So all of this is there. You can get these from the Alive website, and it's there to cover everything. Can leave it. What strategies do you currently use to make Bible stories? Then leave that and just think about your stories. Because when you're thinking about, in fact, before I go to storytelling, any questions on the New Alive curriculum and what I've just presented?
Um, are there like similar to Grace Lake where you have the videos on YouTube that you can use to as part of the storytelling for the children? Is the equivalent to the Alive in Jesus? Are there videos?
Yes, there are some videos and
Mm.
resources and songs that are there on the Alive website. So they will have all the links to videos and songs on the Alive website. So everything is there on the Alive website that will support you with this. But again, you can be as creative as you can using technology, using resources online that will support that. As long as, what I say, if you go through what you need to do and you find resources that you think will even make the lesson more interesting, or songs or activities, you use them. And in the pack that I'll send you will also have some things you can print that you'll make folding 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 animals, so you can print these and cut them out and you can make 3D animals of those, so you have all this and you'll see which one links to whatever stories you're doing.
Thank
uh,
you.
yeah. Any other question? Different types of voice and tones and expression. Yeah, that's strategies that you use. Um, I use to tell if I've been to your church and you see me do object lessons, balloons are a very easy one to use. I use a lot of balloons and lights, but I invest in them. But where do I get some of these object lessons from? If you want to do a story on any topic, I'll suggest go to YouTube and search object lessons on, and you'll find something, and then you create it and make it your own. And some of them even give you step-by-step guides to do that. So if I've ever come to your church, you'll see me use balloons a lot. I use balloons. And if you think about balloons, you can do so many different object lessons with balloon, blowing in it, or just popping it, or all of those things I've done. You want to draw the children in. I've used paper a lot. I've used things that children can relate to, object lessons that children can see, oranges, fruits, vegetables, light, water. All of these things will help to make your stories come alive. Get the children to be participants. Don't get children to just sit and listen. Get them to do some action I remember telling a story about the great shepherd, but every time I use the word sheep, they had to go like bah and make the sheep sound, and they have to be listening and then responding in that way. Make it interactive, make it come alive, help them to see the Bible, that is the story of the Bible, not distant. We talk about David and Goliath, and children will know David and Goliath, but how do we make it relevant? And today, do we have to use David and Goliath, and could we make it into a modern day scene? Make it become personal, so when they hear the story, they can see themselves in the story, and they begin to understand the truth about these Bible stories. So you want the stories to empower our children. Your word I have treasures in my heart, that I may not sin against you. So giving them that um, empowerment. And if we think about our story pyramid, you know, how does the story start? You want to make your story start with some good a hook, just like we have the lessons, a hook, get their attention from the very beginning, and you build upon the excitement. You're telling the story in a way, I don't go reading the story and sit down, children, reading the story. You read the story and tell it in your own words. And a lot of people usually say, but I might forget things. Children won't know that you make a mistake. You know how many times I'm telling a story and it's not according to how I wanted to tell the story, but because you make it so exciting and engaging. And the key thing is to the main point. What is the most exciting part of the story? The main thing you want them to get. You talk about that, and then you go side it down as to what happens on the way, and then how do they reflect on the story? What is on the different side? Why are you telling the story? How is it going to link? And I usually then add a challenge for them. So the reason why I said earlier on about making sure the story links to the sermon, one of the things I did and I implemented is what you call picture preacher, which means that I would give the children a pack or a sheet, and they would go now with this to their seat, and they will have the pencils and the crayon. They will be prepared for this because they know that it's coming every week. So they bring their colors and the crayon kit, and they would have to listen to the sermon and draw a picture of what they understand from the sermon. So you tell the story that builds them up to it. They know that the story is going to be linked to the sermon. And then they listen to the preacher and they draw what they hear. Then I'll collect that at the end of the service, and what I usually do is put these up on the website, and I'll get them to share it with. I said to get your parents or adults to share it, and the person who shares their story the most, then they will get a special prize. And when they share it with their parents or their adults, every time they click on the picture, it will take them to the sermon, a recording of the sermon. And then, so you're evangelizing them. Somebody who wasn't at church or who never come to church will hear the sermon, but the children are being the missionaries there and sharing the gospel with the children to they join. And then the ones with the most click for the year, for the quarter or the month, you'll give them a special prize. But it not even have to be that. It also could be just you share your picture, you get a special prize. Make sure you return it to us, and you're good. And one other thing I usually do with the preachers, I will take all that I've collected and said, listen, this is showing them the picture. This is what the children got from your story. So I would have spoken to them before that, listen, our children are going to be joining your sermon. So can you make sure that it is at the level that they can understand? Add something in it for children. And then you say, yes, this is the story. And you can know when a preacher doesn't preach so children can understand. Children will draw flowers when the story is about the Noah and the ark. But when it's really good, you have some good things. And then I'll collate the best of the year and the children. I did a calendar with the best pictures of the year, and I sold those calendars to the parents, and there's some fundraising going there again. Question is, what are the types of prizes that you give? It could be books, it could be special gifts, toy, depends on the age of a child. It could be one other thing I did, I had special t-shirts. I had t-shirts printed with Bricks Kids on it. So they will get a special t-shirt with their picture or whatever, or even just the pictures. And sometimes the prize is just having your pictures on the calendar or being the first. But you get a pencil, I usually do pencils with Bricks Kids or pens or little booklets or something. You give them different ideas. Whatever it is, children love a quick toy. Right, so we have about 20 minutes, and just as a reflection before I look at the last thing for today, it's VBS, and I'll, take a few minutes to answer questions and answered. How vivid, reflect on how vivid description, relatable characters, and interactive approaches can make Bible stories come alive. And consider the role playing discussions or imagining modern day application to stories can help children see God's story in their own. And then think about how stories like David and Goliath can empower children to trust God and take bold steps in everyday situations. So, any questions on that so far? Storytelling. I know going through a quick whistle stop, lots to take on, but you'll have this presentation. But any questions?
I have a question about the curriculum.
Yeah.
In terms of the classes that are going to be using the Alive curriculum, does that also go to the PowerPoint, or the PowerPoint going to be using the current GraceLink?
They're going to be using the current GraceLink.
All right.
So
Okay.
that thing, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
As well as Cornerstone as well.
Yes, as well as Cornerstone. So they're rolling out the programs year on year. So this is the second year. And I think it's 2027 before they get to those older ones.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So what I would encourage you is to do is to keep on learning. Learning about information and physical, mental, social, and emotional development of children, see how that is affecting. But also, I didn't add it here, but want to keep learning technology. And I'll do a workshop on AI in ministry, how you can use AI for training, for making your planning and being effective. It's a brilliant tool to use with your GraceLink curriculum or your new curriculum, giving you ideas to make Bible stories come alive. So let's just think about Vacation Bible School and what is the primary goal of Vacation Bible School? Is it for sports activity, prepare exams, provide summer care, or teach Bible principles? Vacation Bible School, if you have ever done it, ever been a part of it, what is the main goal? Get in the chat, you can type teach Bible principles. Yes, you're right. It's to teach Bible principles. So, so these are the congratulations to Tricia. 6 out of 6 in your quiz. Well done. Kemi, second in 5 out of 6, as well as Ramon and Abby and Dumi. Well done, you guys. You get a special prize. That's your trophy. Hope you can have it. See, Eva, how does that make you feel? Can you imagine children having that reward, unexpected and being a reward, and they know that they're going to get a prize? All right. So, over the years, I've been running VBS since 2011, so over 10 years, and going 15 years now. VBS and Christmas programs and Easter programs. These are just some of them. I have resources that I support. If I've ever done VBS with you or support you, I have lots of resources electronically that can help you and resource. Just some pictures of some of the VBS that I've done with children. Taken their, Rome. Rome is coming back this year, guys. So this Rome was 2017 or 2016. So now we have Rome coming back. At Mount Everest, Cave Quest, and I can't remember where the next one was. But these are some of the VBS. And when we talk about thinking about your decorations and how you make your room look, and I've said this is for VBS, but you can make your Sabbath school come alive with these decorations. And this is a great thing when you invest in VBS. You use the same resources to do your VBS come alive. This is me. You need to be in characters when you're telling stories. So if you're telling a story, you dress up as characters, do the crazy things. So this is me in VBS. You see me in my hard hat because I was going in a cave. You see me on Mount Everest in my tent. You see me going to safari in my dress. You see me as Moses. You see me doing crazy things. I always talk about this, VBS. When I went to this church, it's a community center. There's one room that they go, one church. There was 3 children in the church, but we went into the community. We invited the community people, and by the end of the Sabbath, we have all those children and all the community. And the members said they never seen the community in the church before, and that was one thing. The food is part of the activity. So you can see all the food comes as packed for the VBS, makes the decoration nice. So you can see the cross made out of vegetables and pita bread. You can see biscuit and cream cheese and blackberry and strawberry making those faces. Sun with a half of a peach or orange, and then you can have sticks in them, melon, all of those things, making the food come alive because it's part of the pack. And we talk about fun and food being highly part of what the children do. This is me, some of the decorations that we have done. So we are in the cave. We built stalactite and stalagmites in this cave. We have Moses on the Red Sea. I was Moses there crossing the Red Sea, sand on the floor, the fish on the sea parted, and children walked through, and it was like, wow. So the experience, and above you will spray water, and they can feel the mist coming down. You see things on the floor as snow. We in summer you used to have them in cave. You have the decorations there. All of that makes in your VBS come alive. We have Kemi from Andrews in Jamaica. They did a VBS in doing scuba and very, very creative. Doing that big whale, Dundee, their creation, Aylesbury, some VBS we have done together, so you can see the work that they have done.
VBS 2024.
That's Jews. This was a church during the Olympics. They created Southern Puritans created their own VBS around the rings, and they created their own Bible buddies and torch. And I went to see them there. Um, yeah, this year we have Rainforest Falls, Galaxy, and Rome coming back. There's also the Christmas packs, and they have additional hands-on Bible curriculum that you can use as outside. These are all from Group VBS resources that you can check them out on group.com, and you can get all the resources there. With the Galaxy, you have with all the packs, you have Bible learning, single point Bible learning. You have Easy Bible Reinforce. Some of the music that you hear while we had a break was all from VBS, and you can have these right throughout the year to play. You can use them as part of your 13 Sabbath, as part of your children's church. It's just so many songs that you can have. You have some science activities that is going to be unforgettable, life applications, and kids Operation Kids, which is a mission focus on these, but I never use the mission focus for group because that's an American mission they have. So you make it your own mission if you want to. So this is the Galaxy, which is a 2 day if you want to do a weekend or simple VBS. You just want to start off with something simple. You can get the Galaxy Pack, which covers the resources that you would have, the student resources, the director's resources, which you have all the manuals, the clip arts and the posters and everything, and then the volunteer resources and the student resources comes in that. And it covers the Bible point, God's love us, so love each other, and the Bible verse, and that's what you would cover for the 2 days. Men bring their friends to Jesus for healing in day one, and Jesus died and comes back to life, which could be used as an Easter program. You could say, you're going to do this as a weekend Easter thing, or you could combine it as a children's church or whatever you want to do. There are songs that goes with that, and then how it works basically. You start with all the music and the activities together, then they go in split into 3 groups, or you have 3 groups of 3 activities that they can do. So if you're doing this as a children's church, you have 3 different stations, 3 different rooms that the children rotate in out of the World Bible Adventures. You have a project that they could be working on, some hands-on, or you have a game, or if you want to just take the games out, if it's on a Sabbath you're doing this and you don't have space for games, you just our time for games, just do the 2 Bible activities, and then you have the mission focus. You These are just guides, and you can adopt them to whatever way you feel, and how you want to use them. So
Jesus is the light of the world. Jesus is the light of the world. And he's here living in my heart. Even when the world goes dark, I can shine, shine, shine in the night. I can shine my light. I can shine my light. I can shine my light. I can shine my light.
that gives you just a snapshot of what Rome VBS Galaxy VBS, weekend VBS will be like. Then this is Rome, which I've done before. I said 2027 or 2017 or 2018, I can't remember now. But I've done it before. It's coming back. This so group will have a weekend VBS, a Bible-based VBS, and a science-based VBS. So, or more modern base. If you want to stick to traditional VBS that links to Bible stories, they always have one. Last year they did Egypt. This year they're in Rome, where Paul underground and they're underground. And you'll have again You have opening manuals for the opening section. You have family time. You have marketplace where you have activities. Then you have the Paul story, experiencing games, and then you come back to closing. Similarly, you have the outline of how that will go. You have the open celebration. You have time to in your groups as family. Then you'll then have a rotation where some children go to the market shop to do activities. Some go to Paul to get the Bible story. Some go outside and play games, and end with a closing. Everybody come together, and that is what it is. The rainforest. I will be doing a train. I'm sure I'll be doing a training with SEC for especially if I have a day of training on this. But I can support churches on these if you have never done this before. Um, so Rainforest Fall, which is more the science, you have Sing and Play Tune, you have the Rooted Bible activities, you have Imagination Station, which is one of the stations that children will go, wow. And a lot of the things you can then use as children's story further on or the other activities. Then you have games and the treat. This is where you have the food that will tell you how to create those food that I showed you earlier and how those foods were decorated and all. That's the treat. And sticky scripture, how they learn the scripture, the main Bible verse each day in a fun way. And you will have again the sing and play where you have everybody together. If you're lucky enough to have space for preschool ones, if not, I usually incorporate them into the one program, but make sure they have an adult with them. Then you have the rotation where you have the Bible story, the sticky scripture, the games, and imagination station. So this is split up into 4 groups. And then you have the treats or the food in the middle that we usually take a break in between, but this is just a guide. It depends on how you want to run this. And then you have the closing canopy closing, which is like closing of the day. You'll have all these manuals. So this was from last year. You'll have all the manuals that you need for primary and preschool ready for you to just read and take along. You'll get logos that you can print your t-shirts. And if you're in the UK, we have different people who supply those. You have your own printers in your local area you can use. But you have t-shirts that you can print for adults and for children, and children will graduate and dress up in that. There's also the VBS tool that will help you to support all of what you do. There's an online version that takes care of registration information, so you have everything done electronically. This you can get the free version or about 40 US for the version that you can have more control over to use. Is there anything for juniors and teens for VBS? This was lacking for me last time. So what one of the thing that I know for group they do the juniors pack that is there, but what they tend to do, I tend to do is to use the juniors and teen as some of the leaders or assistants or to lead out in some of the games or the activities. So you use them as the guide, but they're the VBS on group. If you go to group publishing or group VBS, you see the manuals for the teens and juniors that are there. That helps to support the program. And when you get the digital pack, you have all these electronic versions, the intro, the catalogs, the clip art, the resources, the guides, the music, and the music comes with the video, the backing tracks, how to recruit, training, Spotlight, VBS, which is one of the things that I usually give to the teens as well. They go around taking pictures and it gives them a guide. So what pictures, they put it in a PowerPoint. At the end of the they have a video PowerPoint which have all the animations and the sound that they can present, and everybody look forward to seeing themselves in the pictures and see the fun that they're having for the day. And that you put it on Facebook, and social media and the church website, share it with the parents, they see what fun they have. And yeah, I have done packs on these things, and I have you can get I don't if I'll send a link to these. There's a VBS planner if you want to have a VBS planner. There's a 7 step to VBS. I don't think I've done an updated comparison to show the comparison between all the VBS, but I'll update that. But these will be on the if you scan these, you'll find them. The 7 steps to an amazing VBS, which I've done there. Comparison that was for last year. And the VBS pack is the planning pack is the one that you really need. You use it to help you plan a VBS, and they usually give you a 6 months guide to what you need to do between now and the next 6 months, and it's to make sure you have an effective VBS. So these are the VBS that you would be doing for this year, that we'll be promoting for this year. But the ones from the thing is, the ones I have in the past, I have resources, I have those, but the only thing, the resources that comes with them for the children are not available. You'd have to be creative. So if you want to ever do a VBS and you want to use the resources, then we can share that with you, but it might not be same. And just in closing, other trainings that I do: Secrets of Successful Recruiting Volunteer Training, partnering with parents to equip the parents, making lessons engaging, supporting children with special needs, using AI in ministry, personal development, storytelling, and object lessons, Vacation Bible School. These are some of the trainings. If you want to have those specific trainings, I think the one that will be really interesting is using AI for ministry and personal growth. I can arrange to do that online or in person with your team. It depends on where you are. And yep, that's where we are at. Are there any SEN materials provided? We have talked about that already. And then if you have any other questions, what I would love for you to do is do a review, scan that QR code, and then give me your feedback. I'll also send it. You should get an email sent to you with the link to this, to just give me a feedback on the training, anything that you missed, anything that you would want support with. We can help you with that. So that's it for you. We have gone a whistle stop. We have done so many things throughout the 3 hours. I hope this have been beneficial for you, to give you things to plan. I'll make sure you get these resources sent to your email, and I will I'm available by text or by message or by email. If you need any other information or support, I'll be there to support you. If you're in the UK, I'm available to come to your church to do training, to do workshops, to preach, to do help you with the children, whatever. If you're abroad, then I'm happy to do things online to support you where you are at.
Thank you, Brother Craig. Thank you. It's very inspiring and insightful presentation. I just want to ask if, considering all of the valuable information you've given us today, what advice would you give for teachers who are now starting out, and us as children's ministries leaders? What starting point do you think should we take from this as we head into the new year with our planning and preparation of the new year? What do you think we should particularly focus on at this point?
So, as a children, if you're leading a department, your action plan, your budget, and are the key things that you need to prepare. So you have an action plan, you have a budget to present to the board, and have that ready, and look at, you as a leader need to know what is happening for at least the next quarter. You need to, with your team, plan. I think your calendar can't be too fixed until you have met with your board, for especially the first board meeting, to know what the church is. But actually have those dates in mind and be flexible before. So you might not get to your calendar until fully updated until end of January into March, because you also have Expo coming up to know what the conference is planning, so you can add that to your calendar. But have an action plan, have a budget ready, and know what you're going to do at least for the next month. Know all the learning that is going to happen for every class. And if you're just a volunteer or teacher, you need to just get your quarterly, go to the Alive. If you're doing the Alive in Jesus, read what is going to happen for this month, for January. What is January going to look like? Go through all the quarterly, make a note of what the resources, activities, ask any questions, then speak to your children ministry leader and to say, I'm going to need this, I'm going to need that. How do we get this? Where we can do this? And then if you have any question, come to me, and that will help.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Sorry, Elder Craig, I wanted to mention, I think there was a section where there was a question about resources, and I just wanted to say charity shops might be a good place to go and get resources too. We might be surprised of maybe even things we can find, like for Bible stories, we can find quite a few things there. Sometimes they have like lots of puzzles, different craft, even particular clothing as well that might suit different Bible characters. So a charity shop might be a good place for us to start to get some resources.
Thank you. That's really, really good. Definitely, you'll be amazed to see what you can find. And I always keep like my daughter when she was young, those costumes that they'll do for character days in school. I keep them because sometimes you need to use them. And you yourself, as a leader, need to invest in resources that will make stories come alive and characters come alive. Just invest in that. Puppets and all those little things, invest in them. Go to workshops that are doing in places that have these things happening for children ministry there. It might not be an Adventist thing. So one of the programs I regularly go to is the Hand in Hand Conference, which comes up in February, and this is in Bethel Convention Center. I exhibited there last year. It's a weekend, but they have resources for children ministry.
Go in the bathroom and take off your clothes.
Say it again. Probably has some.
You need to mute Sister Colette.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing here, and just want to thank you all. If there's no more questions, you have my contact details. You have my email, telephone number if you need to get in touch with me. Any questions, any thing, I'm happy to take questions and be there for you. So feel free to get in touch. And I just want to thank you, Sister Trish, for inspiring this meeting, and for all of you who have joined and stayed the journey from wherever you are. I wish you a very good day.